Well, I begin with this morning. I acknowledge and celebrate the newly elected Pope, Pope Leo the 14th, right? Absolutely, the first U.S.-born Pope, the first Augustinian Pope, the first Pope from Chicago. With a missionary heart, spent lots of years in Peru, doing missionary work among the Peruvian people. It's just simply historic. It really is. And I just pray a blessing upon him. I pray for his leadership. I pray for his boldness in such a time as this. Today's sermon is titled, 8 Arms, 1 Shepherd. You'll get it. In 2007, scientists from the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, located off the coast of Central California, observed an extraordinary brooding behavior. Using a remotely operated vehicle, spotted a female deep-sea octopus clinging to a rocky ledge about 4,600 feet below the ocean surface. She was guarding a clutch of small and translucent eggs. Scientists marked her location and returned periodically to check on her each time they visited over a span of, listen to this, 53 months, nearly 4.5 years. They found her still there, unmoving, protecting her eggs. She never left, she never hunted, never ate. They could see her health declining, pale skin, thinning body, the tips of her arms curling from exhaustion and starvation. But she remained. Nothing could snatch those eggs from her. The scientists returned one final time, and she was gone, presumed dead. As is typical after octopus reproduction, but her precious eggs had hatched. She had succeeded, sacrificed herself unto death. In most octopus species, mothers die shortly after laying eggs, rarely brooding for more than a few months. But this one shattered all expectations with this unprecedented maternal vigil. It still remains the longest known brooding period of any animal in the world, 4.5 years. Now, this act of maternal sacrifice is not merely biologically fascinating. In one way, certainly it is. But it is also profoundly moving. She gave her entire life, literally and slowly, to ensure that the next generation would live and thrive. In the absolute silence, in the darkness of the deep sea, she enacted motherly love and protection. You see, this reminds me of many mothers and mothering figures I've known who've given everything for the next generation so it could live and survive. Through sleepless nights, early mornings, systemic injustices, and quiet sacrifice, they also have held on fiercely, faithfully, declaring, "No one will snatch my children from my hands." Many of us can name mothers. I want you to think of that, of someone like that in your life. A grandmother, a mothering figure, a mentor who has loved and who has allowed you to persevere, who has shaped you, shall we say. And now we are called to be the same. How are we mothering the next generation, I ask? Maybe it's volunteering with our children and youth. Maybe it's donating financially to support our kids or teens or college students. Maybe you need to talk to Anuheya or Addie. There are many ways to step in. Just imagine the witness of love that our young people would experience. And so it is with this wisdom this morning, friends. That happened at a feast of dedication. We know it today as Hanukkah, a winter festival in Jerusalem, celebrating the rededication of the temple after it had been defiled. But this was not a pilgrimage feast, but it still held a really deep meaning: renewal, restoration, a reclaiming of sacred space. And it all happened in Solomon's colonnade, this beautiful covered portico walkway in the temple courts. Jesus is walking, and then he is confronted with people pressing him. So how long will you keep us in suspense, was the question they asked him. They asked him, if you're the Christ, tell us plainly. But Jesus didn't take the bait. He said, I've told you, but you don't believe. My works, my actions speak for themselves. See, the problem wasn't his clarity. It was their lack of faith. Then Jesus draws a line and he says, if you don't believe, it's because you are not my sheep. My sheep hear my voice. They know me, and I know them. They follow me. I give them eternal life. They never perish. No one can snatch them from my hand. Did you hear me? He repeats it. No one can snatch them, because the Father and I are one. Apparently, Jesus too clings to this rocky ledge in the absolute silence and darkness of the sea, guarding his sheep and sacrificing himself unto death. He is the good and guardian shepherd who is willing to die for his sheep. Therefore, one can't deny the mothering. One can't deny the maternal presence of the divine creator and sustainer, protecting us, loving us, mothering us. It is here, it is there, it is everywhere. And yet I wonder, if it is so evident, if it is so present, then why do we often miss it? If it's everywhere, why do we struggle to believe in it? Why do we have such difficulty accepting such love, abiding by such love? See, I think it's perhaps because it has something to do with the false messaging of our world today, of our American society. Because to be human today, apparently you must be fearful, coercive, nationalistic, divisive. And to enter into such divine mothering arms, it takes a bold rejection of such messages. However, rejection is just the starting point. Knowing is just the beginning. But without action, one cannot truly lean into those mothering arms of the divine. See, it demands an opposite kind of living, a contrary way to the American landscape of today. And see, I understand that many around us have believed the false narratives, blaming others for our problems. It's much easier. Hating others because they look and sound and eat differently than us. However, I love this wisdom because Jesus here this morning demonstrates to us just how to reject such messaging, such way of being human, because it's evident to me that people in antiquity had various assessments of Jesus. Some wanted him to fit into this category of prophet. Others wanted him to fit into the category of Messiah, teacher, Lord. And still others wanted him to be shepherd. And yet they accused him of deceiving people, keeping them in suspense. But this is not too surprising. If you're a Bible reader, you've read other passages where he's accused of being a sinner. He's been accused of breaking the Mosaic law. He's been accused of eating with sinners. I mean, he's even been accused of being possessed by a demon. Many did not believe in him because he did not fit into their mold. Even the chief priests, the Pharisees, and even his own brothers, did you hear me? Doubted him. And it reminds us that unbelief is not something new. They judged him on his appearance. You do realize I'm talking about the 5'5", brown-skinned Palestinian Jew Jesus.
Yes.
Okay. And it's expected, right, that they wanted him to fit into their religious, into their ethnic, into their political category. But when he did not, and instead confronted their sin and confronted their blindness, they questioned his divine origin. As a result, the resistance grew more and more hostile, and hate, anger, rage took over. This is what happens, right, when one does not fit into the empire's expectations. When one rejects the falsehoods perpetuated in our current times, Jesus boldly refuses all the labels, all of their identities, all of the names and categories. He would not accept their human designations. Perhaps he knew that such things didn't matter. What mattered more were his actions. What mattered more was his way of living, of being human. This is why he points to his works. That's why he points to his witness, to his willingness to die for his sheep, to his oneness with the Creator. You know, James Cone, the black liberation theologian and pastor, says it this way: being Christian is not defined by what one believes intellectually, but by the way one acts in the world. The great Gustavo Gutierrez, the Peruvian liberation pastor and theologian, says it this way: you say you care about the poor, right? Then tell me, what are their names? You know, some people today are very interested in labels, in identities and names and categories, very much living into the human designations provided by our America. You know these people too well, by the way, by their actions, by their binary way of living, by their words, by what comes out of their heart. Jesus did say, if you remember, what goes out of the mouth comes from the heart. Take, for example, Shiloh Hendricks, a white racist woman from Rochester, Minnesota, caught on video repeatedly hurling racial slurs at a 5-year-old black autistic boy. Fully aware that she was being recorded, and yet still doubled down with anger and rage. It's no coincidence that racism thrives where anger and rage reside. But you know what's even more lamenting? Is that Shiloh then launched this Give, Send, Go fundraiser, which is a Christian website, by the way, proclaiming to spread the hope of Jesus, the love of God, and the freedom. She has raised nearly $800,000 from 300,000 donors in support of her racist actions. Did you hear me? It's not just a few bad apples, as some say. This is America's open alignment with racism and white supremacy. Yet some say, why do we need to talk about racism, Pastor Moses? It doesn't exist anymore. We live in a colorblind society, right? But just listen to all the conservative pundits and all the political shows. The ideology of hate is not hiding anymore. And so, my dearly beloveds, my siblings in Christ, Calvary by the Sea, mis hermanos y mis hermanas, those who are watching online today, as the Church of Jesus Christ gather to respond to the cries of injustice, called to confront evil, sin, and injustice, we shall not be silent. We shall not be neutral, complicit, indifferent. We shall not excuse hates for free speech or as the norm of one's First Amendment right, or we shall not write it off as simply someone merely losing their temper. Instead, we shall denounce and rebuke. We shall call out any Christian organization that supports nationalistic Christianity and its distortion, its misrepresentation, its unbiblical and heretical falsification of Jesus. Dietrich Bonhoeffer said it this way: silence in the face of evil is itself evil. To not speak is to speak. To not act is to act. Desmond Tutu said it this way: if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. So let it be known that we shall reclaim the true church of Jesus Christ, that we shall live like Christ, who rejected such false labels, such unjust political ideologies, does not abide by human categories or designations, and instead calls us to live by our actions, by our witness, who declares that all humanity, all sheep, belong to the divine. Jesus is still the good guardian shepherd. Truly no one and nothing will snatch us from his hand, because everyone is made in the image of God. Yeah. That's good news. That's really good news. And so let us lean into our baptismal identity. Let us lean into our baptismal vows, because we were created for such a time as this. To be courageous, to renounce evil and sin, to proclaim Christ in word and action, to be liberated, to live in community, worship together, hear God's word, share in the Lord's Supper. We were made to be inclusive, serving all people with compassion, and made to be reconciled, to strive for justice and peace in the world. Let us dislodge ourselves from such false messaging, from the lies of our current times, and let us enter into the flow that is making us whole, knowing that Jesus will never let anyone or anything snatch us from his hands. And perhaps all you need to hear this morning is that you've come to the right place to find rest, to find peace, to take a deep breath in, and to fall into the mothering arms of our divine parent. For there we shall encounter joy, liberation, and freedom. And faith will overflow, and peace will overwhelm us, and all things will be made right. I thought about this week. I wonder, how will it feel to be wrapped by the arms of our mothering Creator? Now, I don't know what that would feel like, but I know how it feels like when my mother hugs me for a very long time. It sort of feels like really good wine, like a really delicious meal. Feels like a fat bass line on a Sunday morning by Alika over here. Or like this really good song that just makes you want to dance. It feels like a movie that stirs you to tears. Like a beautifully written poem that just seems to linger. Like a piece of art that just won't let you go. It feels like watching the sunrise slowly and the sunset calmly. It feels like holding a newborn. Like laughing with old friends. It's like receiving communion with open hands. And I guess I'll just have to wait for that moment to fall into the loving arms of my Creator. But for now, this is the good news of Jesus Christ. Word of God and word of life. We all say, thanks be to God.